This video is sponsored by American Flight Airways. For over 20 years, American Flight Airways has been the virtual airline leaders. Come help us celebrate our next 20 years with our new look but the same friendly atmosphere. Sign up is free and easy at flyafa.com. American Flight Airways, your new favorite shade of green. What's up, guys? It's Yank here with 47 North Gaming. I am here with a first look at Flight Sim World. This is the release from Dovetail Games that's built on the Microsoft's FSX platform. So I guess we will take a look. We're just going to do a little fly around today. I'm going to do a full review of this at a later date, kind of once it's out of early access. Right now it is in early access, and there's only prop-driven aircraft in the game at this point in time. So I'm at just a random airport. I think this is Helston. We're just going to take it up, fly for a little bit, and go land at Mackinac Island. Not super... part of the reason I'm doing this actually is it's not in one of the heavily modeled regions, I guess I would say, of the world. So we're just kind of actually testing the game a bit. Now the aircraft themselves look pretty nice. The rest of the textures thus far look like it's basically just pulled straight from FSX with some updates. So we'll jump in, get things going. As far as content inside the aircraft, the gauges in at least in this plane, as you saw, which is kind of their one they've been using to model things on, is well, it looks really good, especially for a default. Kick on the lights there, you can see. Okay, I've got parking brake must be engaged somewhere. Don't remember where the parking brake is in this. Yes. It's cowl flaps. Huh. Anyway. Okay, so that was just the suspension, I guess, then doing its thing. Alright. Anyway, I'm going to, before moving too far, I'm going to set this view to not really close in. But yeah, you can just see inside the cockpit, the modeling is a lot more detailed than default FSX plane would be. But you gotta remember, this game has... like FSX has like, why are we off to one side there? Maybe it's the wind. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting distracted here with all the bits. FSX is 12 years old, so it's pretty substantial in its age. So I mean, it's room for improvement. I'm really curious as to what they're going to do. Alright, so there's something wrong with this plane. I wasn't doing this when I was doing my testing here for the last hour. So one thing I do have to comment on is that the shadows are really, really aggressive, as you can see. But you got to remember, this is an early access game, so it's in beta. They've been working on making dynamic shadows and such. So I would expect, the shadows are going to be a little aggressive on those textures. They haven't optimized for this yet. Alright, so let's see what happens when we get into the air. Maybe it'll solve itself. I don't know what's going on though with the drag off to the one side so aggressively. I wasn't doing this earlier, so maybe just a bug. Oh. And looks like it crashed. Alright, so now we're on the runway. Now we're in Detroit, actually, instead of Pellston. I just figure we'll change up the location since we're sitting here anyway. The interesting thing is this game doesn't allow you to set time and date and weather conditions to be... Well, I mean, yeah, I can set weather conditions, but you can't set specific times and dates and custom weather yet. I expect that's something that will be coming at some point, but I guess, you know, to be determined, I guess you could say. I guess without further ado, I'm going to go forward. I've got it set to cold front now, so that way it'll be raining. So you guys can actually see the rain effects on the aircraft itself. I'm going to go outside real quick, actually. So again, the textures are lit up a little too bright, I think, for my taste, but it could be that they're still optimizing, because I believe this is still... Yes, this is still the old DTW from FSX, so it's not updated yet. Yeah, I don't know why this plane's all of a sudden dragging off to the one side now. I mean, I know there's prop torque, but it's a lot more aggressive than it was here, you know, a day ago when I was actually testing this, so don't know what that's all about, but we'll, come on, up. Not a textbook takeoff, but whatever. Might have to switch into a different aircraft if this continues, though. It just almost feels like that right engine's not getting power. Well, maybe it is. Okay. Anywho, but I think the biggest improvement this game brings is the lighting, as you can see in the cockpit, and you saw outside. You know, if they can extend that to the rest of the game, that'll be good. But you know, the lighting is great on the aircraft anyway, which is, you know, to be fair, that's the part that you're going to see the most, since you will be flying the most with this game. But also the rain effects, I think, is a huge improvement visually, just because, you know, that's what's going to happen. You're going to go through the, you know, you're going to have days where it's going to rain, and it's going to, you know, you're going to get rain popping up on the windshield and on the sides and on the paneling and everything, and so it's really cool that they've actually modeled not only it hitting the windshield and the windows, but they've modeled it actually, you know, spreading and sliding based on the speed of the aircraft. So that is, I would say, a plus for this game. Now, like I said, kind of alluded to earlier, the drawback is that the maps that we're working with, or that the map that we're working with, is over 12 years old. You know, FSX debuted in 2005, I believe it is. Maybe it's 2006, maybe only 11 years old. But regardless, it was over a decade ago that the FSX debuted, and its map was being, you know, basically reconfigured from 2004, a century of flight, and I think even 2002 in some sections. So it's a fairly dated map, which leaves airports and areas pretty extremely out of date, which you know, some airports, they obviously haven't changed, but it's been a decade. So O'Hare has changed its runway layout. Seattle Tacoma, SeaTac, it's got an additional runway. I haven't been to all these airports to check them out yet, but if it holds true, you their stuff's not going to be up to date, which is going to be a huge drawback. Now, the game currently is on early access in the Steam store, so you can go out and buy it right now for $25 in the US, which is, I suppose, a fair price, assuming they can pull through with making this actually a fully functional flight simulator. I mean, it is a flight simulator as it stands right now, but as far as getting an updated flight simulator than say FSX Steam Edition, which you can get right now, or you can get on sale oftentimes at just about every quarter when the Steam has its quarterly sales, usually for like $7, and it's still a very fantastic game as it stands on its own. So I mean, it's one of those. It's kind of hard to justify the upgrade, especially when there's a lot of a lot of add-ons available for FSX right now, and there's a lot of third-party developers working on FSX products. So it's kind of one of those. Is it worth the switch? I guess. At this point. I mean, I bought this because I was interested in it. I'm, as I've mentioned before, part of a virtual airline, so it's an interest of mine. It's built on the same platform as FSX was. It's 64-bit compatible, which is something we've all been wanting for a while. Now, it doesn't really, in the long run, 64-bit doesn't really change how the game works as drastically as you might think, but it is something that people have wanted, so they've responded with that. The biggest thing is that they are working on the balance between CPU and GPU loads, and that was, I think, the biggest drawback of the FSX program, because especially as machines have gotten more powerful, is that it just doesn't have the right balance between GPU and CPU loads. But now they have tweaked it, and they are continuing to tweak it, which is why they put it into early access. I don't know what the plan is for how long the game's going to be in early access, but it will be, I would expect, for quite some time, just to allow for that development process. Now, there's a couple of announcements I really don't like from Dovetail here about FS World, and that is the plan for third-party developers having to sell their products on Dovetail-approved services, and that would include Steam. So not only would they have to then get a cut of, or Dovetail would, I think, demand a small cut of the sale, but I think Steam, requires something like 20-30% of the cut. So that's going to drastically increase the price of third-party software if it's offered, because it's going to cut into the margins of the developers. Or the developers are just going to say, screw it, we're going to continue working with FSX and X-Plane. But I'm curious to see, and I haven't tried this, I haven't started tinkering with the program yet, I'm just purely exploring it. I'm curious to see how easy it would be to bring an FSX product over to FS World, since it is using a lot of the same stuff. I think what is going to cause it to not work is that it's a new engine. It's visually and graphically, it's basically the same map, and it is still sort of the same legacy program, but with the change to 64-bit and some of the rebalances, I don't know how drastically they've adjusted the core nature of FSX, and so I will experiment with that and probably get back to you guys on that once at a later date. And I'm probably going to pull this game up periodically as updates or major updates come out for it, just to give you guys updates. I don't think I'm going to do a full review of the game other than what I've already kind of am telling you guys in this video until the game gets more complete, or even maybe after its official release, just because in fairness the game is not ready yet, but it is now available for those that are curious that want to jump on board and get their hands dirty on this. So I am going to land this here. I did want to pull up one of the other improvements I really did like about this game, because I did about an hour worth of exploration before I actually started filming. There's the way that they do the night textures is really cool. It's not like, I mean, for those that have FSX, most of the night textures in cities, I mean, you've got basically backlit building textures, so they're kind of glowy. And while they still have some of that, especially out in more like the countryside and the smaller towns, they have individual lights modeled on buildings now, and the cars seem to be better modeled lighting-wise in the evening. So I will show you guys that here in just a moment. One of the other things is it doesn't seem to log your hours or flight stuff unless you land specifically where you told it that you were going to land. So we'll touch down here just so I'm way off, but and a hard landing. Did that just do what I think it did? I think did that sunshade fall because of my hard landing? That's actually really cool. I'm going to come to a stop here, though. I want to fiddle with the sunshade now. I didn't know that was playable. It says I can interact with it, but I can't seem to... Oh, wow. Huh. I can use my scroll wheel to pick any position I want, rather than just having a very binary down-up like in Flight Sim you'd get with Payware. But like you can't do the defaults in FSX. Alright, so I'm going to I'm going to quit the flight. And I'm just going to pull up a night flight. I'm going to pull in a different aircraft. So I'm going to pull in the... Yeah, I'll pull in the Diamond Star, sure. Weather condition... Nighttime. Summer sunset, was it that I was messing around at? Cold night. Just going to do cold night because I think it's darker. Location-wise, let's go to New York. Yeah, we'll go to Teterboro, that's fine. And start. Now, the loading times seem to be fairly quick. Granted, FSX, Steam, Vanilla, with nothing on it, will load pretty quick on modern day machines now, just because it's optimized and it doesn't have to load in a bunch of add-ons or extra textures or anything. So there's that. So yeah, we'll see. I guess we'll see if the new World Trade Center is in this, if they've even started work on the map updates. All right, so we're gonna hit start here. Click the lights on, and literally cannot see anything on the plane itself. Which I suppose is accurate. I've always complained that FSX was too light in the dark, but this is just for the purposes of showing stuff off, almost a little too dark. I can't change... No, I can't change the weather setup. Alright, so we'll just go with this. Hopefully it'll work for what we want it to do. Yeah, wow. I don't remember having this trouble here when I was doing my setup. And I know there's, you know, propeller torque and such, but it seems more aggressive now or something. That's fine. We'll compensate for it. Maybe an update came out since I was last messing around with this. But anyway, you will notice that there's individual lights and they are three-dimensional, which really kind of gives the landscape kind of a more realistic feel. They also seem to follow the roadways, like, you know, street lamps and such, so I really like that. I think that is a huge improvement over just kind of the flat texture lights of FSX. They've really kind of made them feel more realistic, I guess you could say. At the same time, that night sky and the horizon feels better. So it's one of those, they're working on improvements, and things are getting better for, you know, the game and for the stuff, but it's not perfect yet. You know, the lighting engine, I think, needs the most work just to kind of balance out those brights and darks. I really like this night setup, actually. It's, you know, once I start flying it, it's really nice. This is what it feels like to fly at night. You're not supposed to be able to see everything. It might be nice to have the ability to adjust that. But if you notice, like, we're outside the plane right now, the lights, or the beacons, you'll notice, actually are rotating beacons. They're not just pulsing lights. They're actually a beacon that you can physically see a model in there spinning. So that's a big improvement. And if you notice, the artificial horizon through the cockpit window is accurate to where I'm at. So it's actually, like, unlike FSX, where the VC, or the virtual cockpit, is modeled that is then just pulled up as like a window almost. This is like when you change to the pilot position, you're actually changing to somewhere else inside of this model that's being physically, you know, rendered, I think, all the time, which is kind of cool. I've not heard the air traffic control in this tower, or in this game yet, and it's a little robotic, I guess, if I do say so, but I suppose it's also probably getting some work. It's almost too dark to really be able to tell if there's if the buildings have been updated or not. Makes me want to come back when it's light. But yeah, it's one of those, I guess, around New York, though, I feel like there should be more light being thrown off of some of these buildings, especially the tall ones. I hope they're working on that, but I like that when you look down there, you can see, like, traffic lights and traffic and street lights, which are you know, three-dimensional in nature. One of the other complaints I would say is that the field of view, or not the field of view, but the distance of detail is a little too small, especially once you start getting into high-flying aircraft. But they haven't added commercial jets yet. That is something that is coming, I do believe. So that's something to look out for. Now see, as we get closer to these buildings, they actually do have lights on them, so it would be nice to see those lights further out. I think this is just so that they can run better performance right now. But, I mean, those buildings really do look nice. If I could only see them from a distance, that would be even better. And I do not see the World Trade Center, the new World Trade Center building. So they have not modeled, to my knowledge, any new buildings, and I didn't think so, but I wanted to double check, so that's why we came here. So that is something to keep an eye on for the future, but it looks nice. I mean, when you look out over a cityscape, it looks like it should. There's lights, and they're in the three-dimensional, and they're kind of that warm orangey glow, and the horizon feels appropriate. And if you look, like, even you can see it through the glass of the wing lights. So I mean, it's a a tried and true, really nice simulation visually for the aircraft and for some of the surrounding things. So it definitely has the visuals down in that regard, but it needs to get the map visuals down. I think that's going to be its biggest downfall. If it can't get the map visuals right, then they're not going to succeed. Because you can get this kind of detail if you work at it in FSX, and honestly, you could probably get it better. And people have. I mean, you can go and check YouTube for, FSX or Flight Simulator 2017 or, put in a year, and people have tuned FSX up to the highest level with so many customs modifications and payware add-ons and supercomputers, and they can make it look, better than this visually. But this is out of the box. This is 100% vanilla, so there is that going for it, is that it's visually nice in that regard, in certain aspects, but it definitely needs work. So I guess I'm going to land here at Teterboro. But yeah, I guess, what are your thoughts on this? I've talked about kind of my initial thoughts or initial view of this game. What do you think I can do? If there's more you want to see, let me know. I will gladly fly more flights in different situations or scenarios. Actually, I might take a mini series and do the missions that are in this game. There are a couple included missions. Maybe there's only one right now, I don't know, but there didn't seem to be a menu I could scroll through. There's just one available, and it seemed pretty easy. But it might be one of those progressive things where you're gonna have to earn your wings per se to get more missions. So you have to clear one mission to get the next one. I will look into that more, I guess, as time goes on. But is there anything you want me to check out? Some of the other aircraft or other cities or other or locations I can definitely take a look at. I've kind of done a little quick exploration though, so I've wanted to see how this game stacked up. And for early access beta, it's okay. And for $25, I think it's a little bit steep if it wasn't a change, but if improvements are made to the game, I think this will be actually a really nice game, and a really nice, progression from the Microsoft era of the flight sims. So there is that going for it as well. So we'll have to see where this goes. Who knows? So let's see if I can get this set down better than last time. Other thing I noticed is that the landing lights don't seem to cast any light yet, or none of the lights really cast any light yet, but I think that's something they're working on, so we'll have to just wait and see on that one. Alright, let's bring her on in. There it is. Nice little greaser landing. Alright. But yeah, I think we'll look at this some more, especially if you guys want. But yeah, so this is this is an early look, or a first look at the early access of Flight Simulator World. So I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at things here. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. And I guess you can't really see that. Oh, you can look through the ground, I guess. Trying to exit view, but I guess that'll have to do. So until next time, guys, peace.